My biggest financial regret that I've ever had in life was purchasing a home back in 2021 for these three reasons.
Did you know an air conditioner system costs $18,000?
In 2022, we purchased our first townhome, and it's 2025 and our home has not gained any equity.
So recently we went over how so many people are having a difficult time selling their home right now in this market with high interest rates and overall high home prices just scaring a lot of people away. I thought it'd also be a good idea to take a look at some people with home buyer's remorse. If you bought over the past couple years, the market has probably not been kind to you. We have a number of reasons why people are regretting their purchases along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's just jump right into it.
In 2022, we purchased our first townhome, and it's 2025 and our home has not gained any equity. Nothing at all. I could go into this. I'm still so mad at myself about this. I actually got my real estate license and I was going to be a realtor. Anyways, I was the one that was the realtor for our purchase. My broker was not helpful at all. Not at all. I made such a big financial mistake. I mean, clearly, right? We have no equity in our home. We overpaid completely. Broker didn't care. She got a nice cut off of our sale. So many things went wrong, like so many things. I still can't get over it. Obviously, I'm talking about it. It's 2025. I'm still not over it. I could do a whole series of like this, but it's insane. Anyone have any advice on how to get over these things? Because don't know how to forgive myself for this financial mistake.
So to me, it kind of sounds like she's just mad that she didn't start gaining money or equity immediately. She probably saw all the clips online of people owning homes before 2020, and of course the prices skyrocketed, so she just kind of expected it to keep happening all the way up to present day, and that's just not the case. Some of the comments, it's been 3 years. Girl, give us a call in 20 years. People got spoiled during COVID and think 40% appreciation is normal. I think it's because you bought a townhome. It does of course depend on how much they paid for the townhome, but they said they overpaid, so they're not in a good spot. But overall, single family homes are definitely more desirable. It's because everyone in 2022 were paying crazy prices with overbidding just because of the low interest rates. I asked you guys as well, do you regret buying your home? Yes, it's now gone from new to a salvage attempt to finally demolition. Now I have to rent again at $13.35 a month. New construction townhouses, and that is a very good transition into the next clip.
My biggest financial regret that I've ever had in life was purchasing a home back in 2021 for these three reasons. Number one, I had to put a 30% down payment on my home. My down payment was roughly around $330,000. I bought my 2-bedroom, 3-bath townhome for $910,000. And the reason why we had to put so much down at the time was just because of my income. I was only making around, I think, $100,000 to $110,000. That was the only way we could get the math work. Now, my monthly mortgage payment, if you factor in interest, taxes, HOA, etc., it's roughly around $4,200. If I was renting right now, I could probably rent a really nice 2-bedroom condo or apartment for $3,500. So that would save me $700 a month. However, had I just not bought a home, I could have taken that $300,000 and $10,000, $20,000 that I used as a down payment and just invested in the stock market. We all know the stock market bottomed in 2022, and man, you see where it is today, right?
Right off the bat, I know this is what everybody says. They should have bought Bitcoin when it was $1,000, right? We'd all be rich. But I thought it was crazy that he bought an almost $1 million townhome while making around $10,000 a month. I don't know if he has a partner that makes significant income or he had some sort of a savings nest egg, something along the lines of that, because the prices just don't add up. But we could go right over to the second part of the video.
Number two, in the market that I live in, renting is actually cheaper than buying a home. Again, as I previously stated, I probably am paying an extra, $700 to $1,000 more per month by owning a home rather than renting one. And then number three, owning a home is just really, really overrated. There's maintenance that you have to worry about. I've already had to replace an AC, and my home is like 3 to 4 years old. So it's actually really, really new. I'm sure at some point I'm going to have to replace a dishwasher, a washer and dryer. Owning a home is not cheap. There are a lot of expenses that come with maintaining a home. And You have to do it yourself. If I lived in an apartment complex, I could call the landlord and then they would send somebody to help me fix the problem.
So he already had to replace his AC in a 3 to 4 year old construction build. An almost $1 million new construction build, might I add, which is a little bit of foreshadowing to what we're going to see later in the video, but rent prices have been going down recently across many cities all over the US, so he's currently paying even more money to own a most likely overpriced new construction townhouse and is already having to deal with things breaking like the AC we're about to see can be extremely expensive as well. But we have a comment from one of you guys. A big way a lot of these people make money is upselling luxury for a big markup with external finishes, but in reality it'll rot and deteriorate in less than 5 years. It's faux luxury. Now the last clip of course didn't show anything about his townhome, but I could almost guarantee it was marketed as a new luxury modern townhome with all the same finishes that you're probably thinking of in your head right now, and unfortunately that put him in a pretty bad spot.
Everybody wants to own a home. I hope everybody gets the chance to own a home. But if you live in a rental or you live in an apartment, whatever, think about, you can call the landlord when it breaks. Did you know an air conditioner system costs $18,000? $18,000. Our air conditioner went out. We live in Bakersfield. It's 100 and hell in Bakersfield. This air conditioner man came out yesterday. Air conditioner man, $18,000. And we have them home warranties cancel that. Just save your money. But when you're thinking about or sad about that you don't have a home yet, think about that. Our house was brand new when we moved in. We had it built. We've been in here for 10 years. I understand you got to keep things up, but $18,000, sir? Mind you, the water heater went out last month. That was like $1,000, but still, what the f***? And now my refrigerator has the audacity to feel like it's not getting cold. Stay in your rental.
Owning a home is overrated. Owning a home is like having a car that's about to be paid off, and then all of a sudden stuff wants to start breaking. Get at least 3 quotes for that air conditioner to hopefully bring down the cost under a used car price. Another comment from you, not gonna lie, this helped me feel better about renting right now. I'll take my time finding the right home. Because as I say every time making these videos, I'm of course not against owning a home. I would like to be a homeowner one day, but it doesn't really seem worth it in many cases right now in 2025. But there were so many people who jumped the gun a little too late during COVID, thinking that the prices were just going to constantly skyrocket, or they had a little bit of FOMO like the first clip. She saw other people gaining equity in their homes very quickly, so she wanted to do the same thing, and now it's been 1,000 days since she bought the townhouse, and it's not increased one bit. But we have another clip up on screen right now. Let me de-influence you with homeownership. A new HVAC costing $40,000. New water heater was $3,000. Mice in the basement, $150 for traps. Tree trimmings were $6,000. Structural issues that they haven't fixed yet, so that's definitely not going to be cheap. New roof and repointed chimney, another $17,000. I don't even know what to say about that one, man. I mean, you're talking about a minimum of $65,000 to repair the house. I used to want a house, but love calling the landlord for all the issues. But I hate the rent prices at this point. You can't win. You really can't. Another one on screen as well, when you bought a house in your early 20s, but it ended up being your worst financial decision, and now you're 24 and can't leave because you have negative equity. So maybe you got approved for a loan that you probably shouldn't have taken. You get in over your head with the repairs on the house, the mortgage, the property taxes, everything that goes along with it, but now you're trapped because you are underwater. So even if you sell it right now, you'll be losing a ton of money. Some of the comments: buy a house with the intent to own it for at least 5 years. You won't see a return in investment if you pay top dollar and turn around and sell it in 2 years. So many people are trying to do that right now. Wait it out, it's only negative equity if you sell too soon, unless you absolutely need to move. But if you can't afford the current monthly payments right now, what other option is there other than to possibly foreclose? I closed in February of this year, and I can't get over how silly I feel and can't fathom how anyone is so excited to have a home. Times are different now, and owning a home is no longer the same experience. I feel like there should be more research done then before you purchase the most expensive asset you're ever going to own. Now for this next one, I'm going to see into the future, because if anybody buys this home for this price, they're almost guaranteed to be underwater in this house if they try to sell it, because the prices some of these houses are being listed at is just ridiculous.
This home is such a secure investment for first-time home buyers. Look at that new roof on this home. This is listed by Lisa McNally with Windermere, and it's under $500,000. It's listed for $460,000. And I'm gonna tell you, let's walk inside. Mini split, recessed lighting overhead. There's upgrades that this would not be a money pit for a first-time home buyer. There's a new hot water tank. You have 3 beds, 1 bath, and really it makes the most of 1,028 square feet.
Okay, so if the entire beginning of this video is to try to convince everybody who's watching this TikTok that this is a good investment, you won't be underwater, I promise, please, this is fine. Please buy this house from me. That probably means you should turn around and run. But we could take a look at some of the comments. That's worth about $149,000. Let's get real. Such a secure investment, it's overpriced by a solid $200,000, overpriced by about $400,000. This is honestly so depressing. This is a $90,000 home. Updated shack for $460K. Are we serious right now? I love how the person trying to sell this home is acting like it's a steal. But I mean, it's not really surprising. This, of course, is a realtor account. Their job is to try to sell you the homes for the commission checks. I just thought, even from the thumbnail, this is a very tough sell for people when the argument is that it's under $500,000 when it's just a simple house flip that's 1,000 square feet. But this has become so common over the past few years. We just have a clip here. Millennial life perfectly summed up in a single image. House sold in 1999 for $162,000 and then listed up for sale for $1.4 million. I get it. It was almost 25-year difference. Inflation, of course, made everything much more expensive, but still, it almost feels like it's disrespectful for any of the potential buyers. Another comment from you guys: new houses are being built on my street. They delivered all the wood used to build the houses right before a storm, and then the wood sat in 2 feet of water for over a week. I didn't know it was even legal to build a house like that. It's going to have black mold before the house is even finished. Pretty good transition to the next clip that's up on screen right now. More expenses 2 weeks into owning our new home. And they also have a ton of mold everywhere. Even after repairing it and trying to get rid of it, on top of it, a broken ladder being $450, nail through a copper pipe, it burst, another $225. We could just keep going on and on. POV, you just closed on your dream home. And we have more and more mold throughout the entire house. Whoever owned that house knew all about the mold. Yep, they denied all allegations, and unfortunately every lawyer we consulted said it's a 50-50 case and it's not worth spending money over. So you just got screwed. I wish we weren't in the same club. A lot of houses in Florida are selling with flood damage. Somebody asking, no inspector? Ironically, we paid for all and every inspection you could think of. We spent thousands. The mold inspector we hired said that it was hard to test mold samples through the air, so the inspections aren't 100%. We tried to sue, but it didn't go well for us, unfortunately. So you could even spend a ton of money on these inspections, and it's still not guaranteed, and they have to deal with all of this. This happened to me as well. I was so angry and upset. Same thing happened to us 7 years ago. I'm still fixing things little by little. Another comment from you guys: in Sweden, part of the package, if you hire an inspector, is an inspection insurance. So if something goes wrong that an inspection should have caught, you could claim it on said insurance. This means more misses an inspector has, the higher his premiums are going to get, so he will either need to take less of a cut or he's going to need to raise prices, not making him competitive price-wise. And in the end, for a consumer, it doesn't matter, since you'll get your stuff fixed on someone else's dime. If we also had that kind of stuff in the US, we would see a lot less examples of this online, but all I'm seeing are housing prices just going higher and higher.
Now, I'm no real estate expert, but I have never seen a sign that says starting from the low millions. Usually it's a couple 100,000, but the millions is crazy. This is what an unfinished $1 million home looks like. This is what it looks like finished. Worth $1 million? I don't know. That's the size of your backyard for a M. Somebody got some money because they are selling these things. Now, I'm not feeling how fast they putting together these $1 million homes. I bet you my skinny self can punch through that.
It should be brick for $1 million plus. I agree. They robbed all of us. Whoever's paying millions to live in Exton, PA needs to reevaluate their decisions. Did I just see siding? One window on the side of a house for $1 million? And again, no backyard, no land. I really just don't get it. And we have a comment from one of you guys. I was approved for a $350,000 mortgage, but refused to buy anything over $200,000. My mortgage is $745,000. Over $4,000 is crazy. As I said earlier, people are getting approved for loans that they probably shouldn't, and then buying $1 million new construction build that's basically made out of paper mache. Then it starts immediately falling apart, possibly getting mold, having to pay 4 or 5 figures out of pocket on top of the ridiculous mortgage price to begin with. But it seems like people are getting hounded, especially if you watch these types of videos. Another comment: clicked on this video and immediately got an ad for a bank lending out loans for mortgages. And people have been seeing these high prices for such a long time that we're starting to get desensitized. I think I finally got inflation desensitization. Caught myself saying that's not too bad at a $400,000 house that sold for $135,000 in 2019. Some of the comments: bought a 12-pack of soda today, $11 at Safeway. I remember like it was yesterday when Safeway had a 2 for $7 deal with 12 packs. I used to think a $170,000 house in 2019 was expensive, and it won't go back. It really sucks. I've been saying that about cars lately. $40,000 isn't bad, and people actually buy them. It's the funniest part of all. And in this video, we're seeing the consequences of that as well. My parents bought my childhood home for $60,000 back in '97. The house was built in 1966. They sold it in 2018 for $187,000. That house is now $325,000. The area is ghetto. I don't even know what to say anymore because I have so many more examples for this video.
Have you ever wondered what America's worst housing market is? Well, the Wall Street Journal just called it out. America's worst housing market is now officially Florida's Cape Coral, according to the Wall Street Journal. And as somebody who studies real estate pretty closely around the country, I'm not surprised that it's something on Florida's Gulf Coast. Real estate out there has been getting hammered. I mean, here's a graph in that same article showing the change in the median housing price in the area year over year since 2018. As you can see, during COVID, during the times of cheap money, things went through the roof. And then once inflation hit in mid-2022, prices came back down to earth. And now that we're in 2025, things are starting to change for the worse. In fact, the number of homeowners who are underwater on their houses, meaning they owe more than what the house is worth, is approaching 8%. So that's not good. And then this is especially wild, but this is a picture back from 2009 where you can get a foreclosure boat tour. So you can hop on a pontoon boat with your friends and ride around the canals of Cape Coral and look at houses that are getting foreclosed on to see if you want to buy your next vacation house.
So I know that Florida is probably one of the biggest examples of real estate crashing right now, but this is happening throughout many cities all over the country. I know Austin's also taking a hit. Basically, a lot of the popular areas where people moved during COVID, bringing up the home prices very quickly. And now, unfortunately, if you bought at the wrong time, you're probably underwater.
I bought a house at 23, and there's a bunch of people don't tell you about buying a house, by the way, or maybe they do. Maybe I'm just dumb and didn't do any research. I don't know, but in case you didn't know, here's some no one tells you about buying a house. Your mortgage can increase. Your mortgage is not stable. It can increase because every year your property taxes and your insurance increase. So that mortgage that's going to be so nice because it's not going to increase like your rent, no, it also increases. Your mortgage is going to be the least of your problems. Your house is going to have so many problems. There are so many things that can go wrong that you've never even thought about, that has never even crossed your mind. I don't want to know. Actually, I kind of do know. I actually might add it up. How much I've spent on house repairs this year. 1 year alone. I've only owned a house for like a year and a half, barely. And the amount of repairs and just, now there's another problem. I have like water leaking into one of my rooms in my basement from the ground. I don't even really know what's going on.
So this kind of sounds like another example of somebody purchasing probably the most expensive thing they're going to buy in their lifetime and not really doing any research. I just don't get it. People do it with vehicles all the time. They unknowingly purchase a very unreliable car just because they like the way it looks or the manufacturer, the badge on the front and back, and then depreciation hits them like a ton of bricks. The maintenance cost is through the roof and they're surprised. I would say a home is exponentially worse because you're paying way way more money than you did for that Jeep Wrangler or something along the lines of that.
My mortgage payment went up nearly $1,000 because my property taxes more than tripled from last year to this year. So let's talk about it. I bought a house last year, May of 2024 in South Florida. I purchased it with FHA at a 6.625 interest rate at a 30-year fixed. Now, my mortgage payment alone, just with principal and interest, was $2,277.05. It's important to note that that's not what I'm going to pay the lender every month, because you have to add on top of that your property taxes, insurance, and that's held in escrow. Escrow is a separate account managed by your mortgage lender, which holds the funds for when it's time for you to pay your property taxes and home insurance. As stated in the beginning of the video, my property taxes for 2025 tripled, which now makes my mortgage payment $4,002.
First mistake being Florida. They try to convince us buying is the best way of life. Nope, never again. This is not the only problem we've seen with escrow as well. There were many examples of people having to pay over $1,000 or $2,000 more a month on top of their mortgage and everything else, and most people couldn't afford that. We got an image up on screen right now. Tell me your worst mistake as a homeowner. I'm talking hindsight is 2020, most costly, time-sucking blunder that could have saved you years off of your life. Never use the inspector that the realtor recommends, ever. Don't buy a house with an HOA. You don't need a giant house to be happy. D.R. Horton Builder, enough said. Don't buy in a flood zone. I don't care if the home had never had water before, just don't do it. Nothing wrong with buying a small affordable house to learn how to be a homeowner. New construction homes can be enticing, but the quality of work and materials that go into them is not what it was decades ago. Underestimating how expensive everything is. I knew owning a home would be expensive, but I didn't realize everything would cost in Oregon. I don't know, every time I make one of these videos, it scares me even more about buying one day.
I am coming up on 2 years of owning my house, and there's definitely a lot of things I didn't consider when going to buy it that I now definitely regret. Number one, neighborhood over everything. The area and the location is the most important factor. The neighborhood I purchased my house in was in neither of my top 2 or 3 neighborhoods in Minneapolis, and I should never have veered away from them. My house in those neighborhoods would have been like $100,000 more, so it would have been out of my budget. And I wish I would have just like stepped back and figured out how to make that work, because right now I'd rather be paying any amount of money more to be living in one of those neighborhoods. Second regret is I didn't really consider how big the yard was. My house is on like a double long lot, so my yard is huge and it is way too much work for just me.
I just feel like these would be issues that would be thought about before you purchased. You're in a neighborhood that you don't really want to be in, but it is cheaper overall, but it sounds like it makes her incredibly unhappy. And then wouldn't you take a look at the lawn before you purchased and realize that you're going to have to do all of this yourself, or at least hire someone to do it? I don't know, I just don't really get it. So with a lot of these issues and increasing costs, people are trying to sell their houses right now and not having a good time doing so.
My husband and I are in the middle of trying to sell our house, but this market right now is absolutely horrible. Our house has been on the market since like the middle of March, and it's about to be June tomorrow, and still hasn't sold. We've had to drop the price, I think 3 times. Yeah, 3 or 4 times at this point. And we're just noticing a lot of houses in our area are doing the same thing. They're just sitting on the market and just having to continually drop the price. And they're great homes and they were priced fine, but I don't know, just with everything that's going on in the market, I think people are afraid to buy. Obviously interest rates are really high. It's just been a lot. We've had so many open houses, and what's really hard is like today I'm solo parenting, so I have 2 under 2 plus our dog. So, and it's like almost 100 degrees outside, and I have to be out of the house for 3 hours.
I think everything that you need to know about this clip is summed up in the screenshot, because this TikTok was made located in Southern California. I can't imagine how expensive all of these homes are, even though she thinks that they're all reasonably priced. But if that was the case, people would be buying those homes right now, and they're not. Surprise, surprise, in this high cost of living climate, people don't have $1 million to buy a shack in Southern California right now. So you're going to have to do a lot more price drops to actually actually sell your home.
We are probably going to lose money on this house when we sell it, is what the estate agent basically told us when he came round to value our house. Now, in hindsight, we probably paid too much money for this house when we bought it in 2022. And although we've done a fair bit of work to the house, we actually probably won't make any money on this house when we sell it. So is it really worth selling it at this point in time? Probably logically the answer is no, but in my heart of hearts, I still know that we want to move house, which is why I'm trying to keep on top of the cleaning and the tidying so that we can get estate agent photos done soon and officially put our house on the market, ready to get it sold.
So you're willingly going in knowing that you're going to lose money just because in their heart of hearts they want to move. There didn't seem to be any reasoning or explanation other than that. Some people's decisions to me are just crazy. But let's say you are done being a homeowner, at least for now, right? You're going to sell your house, you're going to go back to renting. Depending on what area you live in the country, it could have gone down in price over the past year or so, but that doesn't mean it's still not wildly expensive.
Can somebody tell me if I'm tripping? Like $2,500 for a 1-bedroom, 730 square feet. $3,190. So $3,190 for 830 square feet. And then you keep scrolling. Hold on. Where's another one? Down here, $5,000 for 950 square feet. Now, 950 square feet, that's a lot. But $5,000 in Atlanta, like 4 bands? Am I tripping? Like, is this not insane?
And I understand exactly what she's looking at. Where I used to live in New Jersey, a town near where I grew up that, to be honest, is not the best area, is building those new luxury apartments that are being rented out anywhere from $3,000 to $4,500 a month. I really don't know how anybody does it up in the Northeast, and that's why I moved away. But as we saw in a comment earlier in this video, you really can't win. The overall cost of home ownership is way too much for people, but you turn to the other side with the rental prices, and they're still ridiculously expensive as well. We're just basically in a lose-lose situation right now.
I am selling my house and I'm getting ready to move back with my parents yet again. I am single. I do have a 9-to-5 job where it does not pay me nearly enough to cover the bills. And I've had this house for about 3 years now and I am just exhausted. I am drowning, barely surviving, not being able to make repairs because the house is now falling apart and I have no money in my savings to fix it. I have been saving for the past 3 years. All I've been doing is working and going straight home. I don't go out. I don't spend money on like coffee or anything. I try to save as much money as possible so I could get some money to make repairs for this house to make it nice and comfortable and livable. But I am at my wit's end now, and I'm just tired. I honestly want to leave my job, my 9-to-5 job that's not paying me well enough to even cover the bills. I'm exhausted. I want to leave, but then I'm stuck with this house, and I just don't want any of it anymore. So I'm selling it.
So before I say anything, let's go over to the comments. Owning a home is no joke. It changes your life. If you're not married, it's very hard to maintain because of repairs and taxes. It's basically a necessity to have a dual income household to be able to survive in 2026. Everyone tells me to buy a house, but I'm happy renting and saving $25,000 a year. Being house poor is not worth it. Just imagine the people who have no parents to go back to. That's what I thought about as well. People are drowning out there. Now, I'm not too sure about her entire situation, but saying that she's only had the home for about 3 years means that she bought it around 2022, 2023, the absolute peak of the housing market. Either there wasn't enough research beforehand to see if they could legitimately pay all the bills, or various things could have increased. The insurance, the taxes, on top of repairing things that are falling apart. It seems like she got way in over her head. Just overall, a pretty terrible situation.
I pay $4,150 every single month for my mortgage. Honestly, when I first purchased the house, this mortgage was $3,000, which was really affordable. We have a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house in South Florida. However, after the first year, they increased the mortgage by $600 because it's a new build and they didn't properly account for taxes. Now, this is something that typically happens to homeowners who get new builds here in Florida. It's just something that we didn't know about until it happened to us. A year after that, they increased it to $4,150. So we've been in this house for 2 years, and that is our current mortgage. And we've been paying that mortgage rate since, I believe, October of last year. Actually, it was 6 months later that they increased it, not a whole year. Saying this to say, I am ready to get out of this mortgage just because I just had a baby and I really want to stay home with her. And it's so hard to be a stay-at-home mom when you're literally banking out $4,150 every single month just towards your mortgage.
I don't even know what I'd do if my mortgage increased by a third within just 2 years. That sounds insane. Now, we've gone over this before. A lot of people don't realize with new builds and escrow, your mortgage payment can increase drastically along with being in South Florida. The insurance prices are not great there because of the storms. And her trying to sell it and move someplace more affordable is still going to be difficult. Not too many people want to live in a place where the insurance is either so ridiculous that it makes most homes not worth it, or the insurance companies just straight up won't insure you. So if there's a storm and your house gets destroyed, tough luck. That's definitely not a place that I'd want to live.
I think I fully regret buying a house now. Like, it's not the worst choice I ever made, but it's so expensive. But at the same time, it's exactly what rent would be costing me anyways. I'm almost an hour away from where I want to be and almost an hour away from work. It's a lot of upkeep, a lot of maintenance. I feel like the housing market could crash at any minute, and interest rates were high when I bought it, and so were prices. I rationalized it by telling myself, well, it's the same amount as rent and I should get something back out of it at the end of the day. Which honestly at this point might not even be true. And I'm far away from everything and I have an hour-long commute and I'm tired and I'm in a 3-bedroom house and I live alone. I'm thankful, I'm very thankful that I'm able to do this. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if it was the right choice and I'm stressing over it right now. And I've only been here for like 8 months. I don't know what to do.
Before I say anything, let's go over to the comments. I bought a house in Austin and I regret it daily, but it's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. Am I the only person that thinks an hour commute is normal? Maybe it's more common than you think, but I don't want to be in that situation. It sounds like he doesn't either. Racking up the miles in the gas bill while commuting as well. And he did touch on this a little bit. I think there will be a very big difference in opinion if you decide to buy your house before COVID and after COVID. Obviously, it's a pretty good choice if you bought your house back in 2015 and saw all the appreciation in just the past few years, but that doesn't seem to be happening anymore, especially if you bought in 2021, 2022. You're just now most likely drowning in monthly payments. And another aspect of home ownership right here, a comment from you guys. People buying homes and not realizing there's maintenance cost involved is crazy. Whatever your mortgage payment is every month is the minimum you're going to pay.
It is up to you, the home buyer, to do your own due diligence, guys. You cannot rely on other people to give you the most accurate information for the largest purchase that you're going to make in your life. And listen to this. According to Lexard Capital Management, the typical homeowner pays nearly $1,800 more per month than renters once you factor in taxes, insurance, maintenance, and a potential HOA or PMI payments included. So they're just looking at the mortgage payment when you're coming up with that $900 per month difference. They're not factoring in all the additional costs of homeownership, because when you do, that difference now doubles to $1,800 per month difference between being a renter versus an owner today.
So with all the people that stretched themselves thin over the past few years to buy a home, they're probably not going to be able to afford the almost $2,000 more a month just to be able to maintain everything in the house. And that's why we have so many clips of people talking about being house poor and wanting to get out of their home entirely because it's just not worth it.
As someone who bought a condo in 2022 and regrets it, let me tell you about the things they don't warn you about when buying a condo. You think you're buying an affordable home with a low maintenance lifestyle, right? The cute pool, the landscaping, all of that. But what they don't warn you about is the HOA and how it can literally destroy the value of your home. And if you have a bad HOA like I did, you have absolutely no control of the fees, no ability to know where the money is going. These question marks of what happened with spending, and if they're really bad, they'll make your complex unwarrantable, which makes it essentially unsellable. And when your condo is unsellable and the fees are going up and up, the value of your property crashes.
HOAs are a scam, absolute theft. I learned this lesson the hard way. I did that too. The realtors lied to me about what the HOA covers. That's why I'm sharing my story on here. This condo was the biggest financial mistake of my life. It destroyed me. And now that I'm a realtor, I feel like it's my responsibility to share my story and educate people. I know we talk about Florida a lot on this channel, but with the condo and the HOA issues, that happens a lot in that state, where the fees become so unbelievably ridiculous just that people can't afford where they live anymore. But then you try to offload it and there will be zero buyers who want to take on that responsibility. So you're just stuck bleeding money constantly. It is an absolute nightmare.
I really can't decide if I regret buying a home at 25 because it's so hard. Like, it's way more expensive. You got to fix everything yourself. It's nice to say that you own a home and legally it works out great, I guess. Property taxes. I have a townhome. We pay $4,000 in property taxes. I don't have a backyard. Like, I don't even have a front yard. Like, I don't know. I think everything's a scam. I think this whole world's a scam, and I feel like I fell for it. But at the same time, renting feels like a scam. And then I buy a home and I still feel scammed. And I'm like, ugh.
I don't know, at least for me, I would never own a townhome. Same thing with a condo as well. Unless the entire area that you live in drastically increases in value, townhomes are a pretty tough sell to people, especially if you compare the appreciation to a single family home. AC unit needed replacing, $15,000. New water heater, $4,000. Fridge and tumbler dryer broke, another $1,500. Then property taxes and HOA fees. Yep, bought in 2021, had to replace a furnace, windows, siding, garage door, light fixtures, tons of plumbing, electrical stuff, bathroom needed a remodel, even buying lawnmowers, rakes, tools, so many tools. All things that I guess people don't think about while purchasing the most expensive thing you're going to buy in your entire life.
Can anybody tell me if I can sue the flippers that I bought my house from? This house has been a never-ending disaster since I bought it. I bought it in 2022. Prior to me buying it, it was unoccupied for 4 years. It was foreclosed on, bank owned. Somebody bought it, flipped it, and they really didn't flip it right. It's just been a non-stop issue here, and I'm at my wit's end. So right now, this is the situation in my kitchen. But just to give you a brief synopsis of everything that's been happening here, my plumbing does not work. It's currently being diverted into my backyard because the exit to the house, I won't show you because it's a mess. It's in my basement and I keep having to bleach it, but it's the main sewer pipe to my house backs up into my basement, and apparently homeowners insurance doesn't cover it. I can't get a loan. It's just been a nightmare here.
Okay, so I'm cutting it off there because this is just a fraction of the full video. She has a lot more problems with this house, and unfortunately this sounds like the Home Depot DIY flippers that made a substantial amount of money from people buying during COVID times, and now she's left with something that is falling apart. I mean, the sewer is getting backed up into the basement. Oh man. We could go over to the comments. That's what an inspection is for before you buy. That should have all been listed and taken care of in the house inspection. She replied, nope, the plumbing was in working order, but immediately started malfunctioning when I moved in. It was something where you wouldn't notice until you started showering and running the water. The inspector did not catch it. Now, we have seen instances of this as well. It really makes me want to hire one of the content creator inspectors that their entire channels are dedicated to ripping apart any of the homes that they're inspecting, because then at least it means they're going to find something, not just walk through the house, open and close a couple of doors, turn on the shower, turn it off, and walk out saying that everything's all right, because then you could have the same type of problem. If you had an inspector, then it's his fault. You should sue him, sue the real estate company and owners. Here's my advice. Never, and I mean never, buy a house that's been flipped. I can guarantee you they cut every corner possible. While it is getting more difficult to find a house that's older, that hasn't been renovated or flipped with good bones, and then your other option is to buy some sort of new build, which we've talked about on separate videos with this channel, that is just as bad of a decision as well. You really cannot win.
We just bought a brand new Lennar home, new build, and I have just filed now our second warranty claim for crappy plumbing. The first claim was because the cold water tube to the master bathroom was crappy and was leaking behind our wall. And the second claim was because the toilet on the first floor was leaking at the base. And I am so sad and frustrated, and if I see the building manager, I'm gonna take him out by the knees. To top it off, they found an empty beer bottle behind the drywall when they cut that shit open. So thank you, Lennar.
for our quality home.
And unfortunately, this happens a lot more than you think. We've even seen the beer bottle clips a few times on this channel, different instances. So okay, you're freaked out with the new builds, you're not going to do that, you're going to find an older home that isn't already flipped, buy that, and then start fixing things up yourself as they fall apart.
So this morning I got a quote for one window, to replace one window in our house. Anyone want to take a gander? How much that's gonna cost? You don't want to know. I'll tell you anyway. $3,700 for one window. They offer 0% financing, 20% down. So yeah, that's gonna help. But
Okay, so this is obviously so ridiculously overpriced, we can go over to the comment section. Don't pay a penny more than 400 bucks. It's just a window. Anything over 500 is fraud unless it's not a standard window. But this adds in yet another headache. You then have to start shopping around, calling all of these different companies to finally get a somewhat reasonable price, probably still not affordable. But then what's your other option? You're supposed to fix everything in the house yourself, become a handyman, while you're already working a full-time job to barely cover the bills in today's world. It's starting to seem like it's really not worth it.
Starting to see all these stories crop up, especially on Reddit, of people saying buying a house was one of my worst financial decisions, and we did everything correct. We went and we were told buying a house, we got a house, we saved for a down payment, but we're underwater from what it's worth. They're in Austin and values have dropped 25%, and they had to come out of pocket 70 grand, and they're asking, what can we do? Because I don't have the money to sell the house, and it's not going to cash flow if I rent, and I'm stuck here.
That's right.
And the common advice is just, well, you either have to take on a job to pay for the, a second job to pay for the house, or rent out rooms.
Or prepay the negative equity. Believe me, like I did coming out of South Atlanta.
But I think this story is going to be a lot more common.
You don't lose anything until you actually sell, but if you're hemorrhaging money and you can't afford the bills that are coming in every month, you're definitely losing something.
Renting is throwing your money away. Buying is building equity. That's such a lie. It's such a lie. Okay? They're the obvious ones of throwing your money away: property tax, insurance, okay, and interest on the mortgage, which is substantial, and that goes to a bank and you never see that again. So those are like the main obvious three. But the one thing that people don't talk about, this is what they don't talk about. They say to budget 2% of your home's value a year on maintenance, maintaining what is there, just keeping it the same, okay? 2%. If you own $1 million house, which in Toronto is low, 2% of $1 million is $20,000 a year. Gone. How much is your rent a year? Like $30,000? Okay, those are comparable. And you don't get maintenance costs back. That's just keeping it the same. That's just bugs eating shit and mice burrowing through stuff and plumbing breaking and glue letting go and like blah, blah, blah. Like you throw away your money constantly in homeownership, okay? Get this out of your head.
And now we could take a look at some of the comments. Cool, bought my house 8 years ago. I could sell tomorrow, pay off what's owed, and I have $160,000 in the bank. Well, I can guarantee you that most people won't be in that situation if they buy a home in today's world. I've got over $200,000 in equity. It most certainly isn't a lie. I'm willing to bet that this is almost the exact same story. You bought your house years ago. Buying a home right now is taking on a $500,000 slop together pile of wood and plastic liability that'll most likely be unable to be insured or lived in by 2035. I get that people are in two different camps right now. If you bought a while ago, good for you, but if no one in today's world could afford those house prices, it's never going to sell, so you're not actually going to see your appreciation.
Raise your hand if you bought a house when the interest rates were low a few years ago, thinking, oh, this is like a little starter house and we'll just live in this for a couple of years, but then the interest rates are like over 6%, and now we're stuck in our not forever house. It's kind of looking like our forever house because I can't afford like a 6.75 interest rate on a mortgage. Like, what? Am I the only one? Are you stuck in your house too? Because this is wild. And we live in the Metroplex where houses are at minimum like $500,000-$600,000. So This is insane.
We have a comment from you guys talking about getting approved for a mortgage. I was approved for a $144,000 mortgage. Realtor couldn't understand why I wouldn't go over $100,000 when my gross annual income was $45K. I'm definitely starting to see that too. Banks are giving out loans to people that they really have no business in getting. And I don't think I have to tell you about the '08 financial crisis. Hopefully history does not repeat itself.
Let's break down my mortgage payment of $7,120. My principal and interest is $4,350, and that's the actual loan. My escrow payment is $1,800, and this is the account the mortgage company uses to pay my property taxes and my homeowner's insurance. And since my property taxes increased, I have a shortage in my escrow account that I have to pay an additional $970. Not many people know that the escrow is separate from the loan. So I started documenting my real estate journey just so I can share my real numbers, the good and the bad. That way you can learn from my experience.
Okay, so I just had to put this in because of the crazy number, $7,100 mortgage. I really don't know how people are doing it. And there was an escrow shortage, so the price was still rising. If I was put in that same position, I would definitely regret buying that house.
These are the 3 things that I wish someone told me before I bought my house last year.
Number 1, your mortgage. That's the minimum you pay. Repairs don't schedule themselves, and they never wait until you're ready.
Number 2, I didn't just buy a house. I bought less freedom.
More responsibility, more weekends fixing stuff instead of actually living. And number 3, this is the one that surprised me most. It's not even financial. It's mental weight. The feeling of being stuck because you just committed to a 30-year or 25-year mortgage. I'm not saying buying a house is bad. I'm saying timing matters more than people think. If you're young and thinking about buying, don't rush it like I did. Make sure you're okay with it because I didn't realize how much they'd change my day to day.
And I know in these videos I just sound like a complete hater, like renting is the way to go, even though at the very beginning I said that I'm somewhat looking at buying a house. I just think a lot of it is not worth the price and the headache right now, and it seems like I'm not the only one with this thought process.
Half of homeownership is just discovering new ways that water can ruin your house. You know, you think, I bought a house, I made it, but really all you did was enter into a lifelong war against water. You know, and you start learning new words like seepage or grading or moisture barrier, and then the next thing you know, it's 1 a.m. and you're Googling like, what does mold look like and how much is too much? And it's always something like that tiny drip that sends you into a panic, or the small leak that somehow turns into a $1,200 bill. You know, you get one drop of water through the ceiling and you're like, my house is decaying from the inside out. And basements, forget about it. Like, I used to enjoy thunderstorms, not anymore. Anytime it rains now, I'm in the basement looking for leaks like some sort of midnight security guard, you know? So owning a home is really just entering into one long, expensive battle against moisture and humidity.
And insurance won't cover it 80% of the time. It's always something, and it's always $1,200. The creator responds $1,200 is the absolute minimum. And we got another example right here of something that everybody's been dealing with over the past few years, the constant tax increases.
All right, so new property tax bill just dropped. It's $4,961 for half the year in Michigan, where I live. It's almost 10 grand a year now. It goes up 5% a year, basically. My house is probably a little overvalued, but we are just renting. I keep saying this. It's gone up at least over $1,500 from last year to this year. About almost $5,000 for just half the year. We're renting from the government.
And he makes a very good point. Even if his mortgage was completely paid off, just to be able to live where he does, it would cost $10,000 a year. Nobody ever legitimately owns their home, whether you're renting, you have a mortgage, or not. But to end off this video, we got a pretty crazy clip of somebody going all in with the rental empire. We got a comment from you guys right here. People need to get back to thinking of a house as a home rather than an investment. And this person definitely did not think that way.
I bought 22 rental units in only 18 months and honestly regret it.
Just to show you, here's a 2-unit property I own. Here's another one that's a 6-unit apartment building. And here's another one. And here's another one. And there's even more properties, but I'm done driving around wasting my gas, and I feel you guys understand. I thought owning rental properties would be a great source of income, but boy, was I wrong.
Yes, we were cash flowing around $600 a door. Yes, that's over $13,000 a month. And yeah, we were successful on paper. But in real life, I was equity rich and cash poor. And when I'm telling you broke, I had to check my bank account before I could even get gas. Sometimes the account was in the negatives. Honestly, the more properties we bought, the more broke I felt. You know, if something went bad, literally cash flow would be gone like that. If a roof went out, if we needed new windows, if there was a leak, money was just going. Social media honestly won't tell you this. If you own a lot of rentals, that does not mean you make a lot of money. And if you're building a rental portfolio but don't have another side of active income, you're definitely going to regret it because you need some money set aside in reserves.
82% of Americans who bought a house in 2023 and 2024 regret buying their house. Not only that, but 44% of recent buyers had to take on additional debt just to maintain their lifestyle. And 43% of them have struggled to make mortgage payments on time.
So I mean, that statistic, 82%, is wild. And we have a whole host of advice from tons of different people on the internet of what you should be doing right now in 2025, because it seems like for years now, people have been waiting for the housing market crash, and the prices have only really gone up, along with the interest rates, by the way. So some people had some FOMO, ended up buying in 2023, 2024, maybe barely scraping by on the payments, and they already have regrets and are on the verge of foreclosure. Now, it really does depend on where you live. Some areas are starting to come back down to earth somewhat. I would still say Florida's wildly overpriced, even though we are seeing statistics that the housing prices are going down along with rents, but other places still continue to rise, or at least stay stagnant on the average $430,000 home now, and we're not even talking about anything going wrong in the house after purchasing.
So, you want to buy a house in 2025? Let me give you some knowledge. Whatever anybody says, it's always the right time to buy if the price is right. But sometimes when the price is right, there's stuff that comes along with it. I closed on this house last Friday. On Saturday, the entire HVAC unit went out. We thought that it was just the fan motor, had that replaced, and they came back after it did not work, and the entire thing has to be replaced. That would be $10,000 right there that you're looking at. And this goes out for inspectors. Pay for an inspection, but be wary who you pay to do your inspection, because some inspectors are not as thorough as they should be, and as long as the thermostat turns on and there's heat coming out of the vents, all is well. If you buy a house in 2025, make sure you do your due diligence so you're not like me and wasting $10,000 to $15,000 after only being here for 3 days.
Okay, so I'm not exactly sure if he didn't get a home inspector at all or ended up getting a really bad one. Maybe he was recommended by the realtor, which most of the time is not really the greatest thing to do, and now he has a $10,000 to $15,000 bill on top of his home right now. I don't think too many people are waiving inspectors now and paying over asking in 2025 like they were years ago, but I do think it is very important to do your own research on inspectors. We've seen a host of stories, of course, being a really bad idea if you waive it altogether. Using inspectors that are in the pockets of the realtors that are selling the house, they both get kickbacks. They just walk through the house saying that everything's completely fine, even though it's not. And we've even heard stories of people getting the highest Google reviewed inspector in their area, and it's still not working out, and the house starts falling apart right after they purchased. I don't really know what the solution is in the end, because it's kind of almost all you could do unless you become a home inspector yourself and inspect the house before you buy it. But there are some things you're just not going to know to look for, and unfortunately you could be in a similar situation to this guy. We could look at a couple of the comments. Inspectors should be financially responsible for a certain amount of time after they pass inspection on a house, and if something breaks down. New houses are junk, work ethic is gone. I'm not sure if he bought a brand new build, but we'll see one in a second right after a comment from one of you guys. I own a painting company and I do a lot of new builds. I'd never buy a new build. The amount of corners that get cut on a $1 million home is mind-boggling. Floors are plastic, your walls are made of paper and chalk dust, not to mention the luxury countertops, which are much more fancy than composite material. The appliances and fixtures are the cheapest they could be. The drywall is never finished properly, which makes the paint job look terrible. We've gone over this a few times on this channel, and we have another perfect example right here.
Yes, I took my chores off. This is always the case. Bathroom is nice. Yeah, all of this is left unfinished. So here we have another bay window. Remember what I said about checking under. All of this is left unfinished and exposed. Wide open. Here we have more gaps. big enough for a rat to fit in. Some of the downspouts are damaged and they're draining near the property. Saturation built up on the sides of the home. We have an outlet near the toilet and it should be GFCI protected, but it's not. We have some grout separation. Not only is the cover missing for this fixture, but it's also crooked. No control at the switch, and nobody can reach those pull chains. We have separations at the cabinetry. This door is squeaking. Gaps at the front entryway. Light separation is some of the trim work around the home.
And this guy just keeps going on and on with this one single house. How many times did they cut corners? Separation already? Hiding the finishes if you didn't look for it? Now, he didn't say the price on this home, but I could almost guarantee you it's going to be a ton of money. Exactly what the previous comment was describing, with all of the luxury amenities and materials, which aren't actually the case in the end. And I mean, maybe you'll get lucky and it won't start breaking down immediately like the earlier clip we saw with the HVAC, but you know none of these houses are actually built to last.
Most people don't realize this, but owning a home today comes with a whole lot of hidden expenses. And I'm talking about property taxes, insurance, maintenance, HOAs or homeowners associations. Bankrate says that's over $18,000 a year on the average before your mortgage. So people are paying 40% more just to own the same home that they could rent, sometimes from the same builder. And here's the kicker. In many cities, you can rent the same property for hundreds, sometimes even thousands less per month. And the spread between rent and ownership cost is widening. This is not sustainable.
I've talked about it before with my own experiences where I currently live. I'm renting a townhouse right now because the rent has not caught up with the single family home prices where I live. There's still somebody down the street trying to sell the same type of townhouse that I'm in right now renting, and with a almost $100,000 down payment. It is still almost $900 more a month than I currently am renting, just to be able to own this townhome 30 years down the line. And I know many people always get angry. Renting is just throwing money into a fire, or you're paying off somebody else's mortgage, and I understand that. I do want to end up being a homeowner one day, but like that clip said, it's just more feasible to be able to rent here for a couple years and maybe move out of town to an area with a cheaper cost of living than to try to buy this property and pay off the mortgage. Here we have another quick clip of people's mortgages jumping even higher. I mean, this one's insane.
I just got some crazy news. My mortgage just went from $4,500 to $6,050, and it'll be effective March the 1st.
I think everyone had the same thought when we look at the comment section. The $4,500 would have blew my wig back, let alone the $6,000, $4,500 a month. But if you looked into this a little bit more, it was because of escrow, and we've gone over this previously, and it's still happening to people today. And the next clip will show you how to look out for some of this if you are about to close on a home. But we could read some more comments, and this is why I refuse to sell my home with a house payment of $554. I'm stuck on $4,500. $4,500 was crazy from the beginning, and I'm tripping about ours going from $2,100 to $2,500, but $6,000. But here's what people aren't reading into when it comes to the mortgage contract.
All right, another new build that's going to be subject to payment shock. I'm going to tell you what to look out for. This one just got closed 2 weeks ago. I asked the owner if I could share it, blocked out the information, so here we go. Great interest rate on a new build, 30-year fixed FHA loan. $1,437 is the principal and interest. That part does not change. You're going to come down into the escrow. Projected payments, principal and interest, that matches. Mortgage insurance, separate, but that checks out, makes sense. Escrow account, $168. That's supposed to pay my taxes and insurance. Go down to the next box. So that they tell you estimated payment is $1,732.70, total of all these. Go down to this next box. Estimated taxes, insurance, and assessments is $526. Where is that in your payment? Where is that in your estimated payment? If you scooch over here, you'll see it says, oh, only some of the property taxes are included in this estimate above.
So if you don't read into the contract a little bit more, you won't realize this. And that's exactly what these companies want. They want to make the monthly payments look as low as possible, and then out of nowhere you get blindsided with an extra $500 a month or $1,500 from the previous clip. And it is honestly just wrecking people right now. We have another comment from one of you guys. Fear of missing out, all it is. Unless you have 3+ children and were relocated recently by a company you work for who will be assisting, there's zero reason to rush out and buy anything. That's definitely what we've been seeing over the past couple years. Some thought the prices were just going to consistently be rising very quickly forever. And that's where we get the stat that 80% of people regret buying over the past few years. And to be honest, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Trying to find possibly a very good deal, which is extremely difficult, but I'd truly just rather wait it out than to jump on the bandwagon with the fear of missing out and buy something that I'll end up regretting later. Another issue that I'm starting to see that's already affecting people but will probably get worse in the future are these types of ads that are up on screen and how much you could afford with very little down payment. I'm not saying we're in the exact same position as the 08 financial crisis where people were getting loans that they had absolutely no business in getting, but when you start seeing stuff like this, there's some red flags that are popping up in my head. You only need 1% down payment to buy home thanks to this program from Rocket Mortgage. And you could see the down payment are $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 for these home prices. If you could only afford a 1% down payment, I'm going to be honest, you cannot afford the home. You're almost guaranteed to foreclose. So just seeing this kind of stuff, this was an Instagram ad, is definitely not a good sign. Then we could take a look at this video saying how much money you would need to make to be able to afford a average home price in the US right now.
This is the amount of money you need to be making to afford a $420,000 home, which is the average price of a home in America right now. A $420,000 average sale price. Let's go off of $4,000 a year for taxes. Let's go off of about $1,000 a year for homeowners insurance. So if you put down about $15,000, you can get yourself a nice shiny FHA mortgage. All right, awesome. So if we use a rate of 6% with a 7% APR for an FHA mortgage, you figure it's going to be about, let's just say $2,400 a month for principal and interest. And then between these two, it's going to be about $400-ish a month for taxes and insurance. Now, FHA has mortgage insurance, so let's say another $180 a month for mortgage insurance. So that's going to be about $2,980 a month for an FHA mortgage, all in. Now, from that, you figure it's going to be about, times that by 2, or at $6,000 a month, and FHA requires a little bit more than that. So let's call it about an $80,000 a year salary. So as it shows, $420,000 the average price in America. If you did an FHA mortgage, you'd be a little less than $3,000 a month all in. But you would need to make as a family at least $80,000 a year to be able to afford this, and that doesn't even take into account if you have any debt.
So if you are someone with the average credit card debt of around $7,000 per person in the US, it'll probably be even worse for you, but we could take a look at the comments. $80,000 a year bring home is like $4,600 a month after tax. You cannot afford that house and won't be able to eat, because I guess you'd be able to get a loan with that, a $3,000 a month mortgage, when you're actually bringing home only $4,600. 66% of your take-home pay? I know the very safe ratio at around 25% of your income is very far out of reach for a vast majority of people nowadays, but this one seems extremely dangerous. For new homeowners, this is severely underestimated. Mortgage insurance is the biggest scam in the world, that's all I have to say. Casually 45+% of that income, please no one do that. $1,000 insurance, that guy did not agree. Paying that much on a home, only making $80,000 is crazy. $3,000 a month for your house only to make $6,600 a month before tax shouldn't even be approved, but it seems like that's what's happening now, because I've started to look myself and what I would possibly be approved for, and I was allowed to get a loan for way more than I definitely should be. So again, I don't want to say we're in the exact same position as the 08 financial crisis, but when you start seeing videos like this and advertisements with only a couple percent down, it doesn't really look too good to me, let alone the shape of any of these houses you're trying to buy are actually in.
It was probably mentioned, but the house is falling apart in 40 different places simultaneously, so just make sure you stay on top of that. Just sign here to say you probably can't afford what you're getting yourself into. Sign right here to say that you're probably going to get lead poisoning from living here. I mean, we didn't check, but like statistically, it's not looking good. Keep in mind the closing costs are $100 billion, but you guys are good for it, so no worries. So I know you guys are aware that the house is being sold as is and kind of being sold as will be, since they are taking it apart as they leave, kind of disassembling it like a Lincoln log. So just as a reminder, no attic, no basement, no windows, no bathroom, no closets. So really quaint. You guys made a really good choice. I mean, it has such great bones. And what I mean by that are the bones we found under the floorboards in several of the bedrooms. It is in the contract, everything is broken. I'm pretty sure we said that already, right? In the meantime, don't think about the sellers too hard because they will pull the deal and go with someone else.
Now, of course, this was a skit and over-exaggerated, but as we'll see in a little bit, I have some examples. You're kind of getting on the verge of this being reality. Some of the comments, no yard, but property taxes will be $15,000 a year. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, but the 2 beds are in a shed, and the 1 bath is a garden hose. Gaslighting myself into thinking it's just cozy. It has good bones, though. Oh, man. But we have a comment from one of you guys with a very different story. I just closed on a house. I've been looking for 3 years. The inspector caught a lot, some major and mostly minor. I counter-offered with the repairs I wanted. The sellers waited till midnight before the 10-day window to tell me they weren't making any repairs, so I canceled the contract. They came back 2 hours later agreeing to all my terms and threw in the washer, dryer, and fridge. Don't fall in love, take your time. So we're going to take that advice and throw it right out the window for the next couple clips because the fear of missing out or just doing it on a whim seems to be a little bit more common than I thought.
I'm assuming this is your first house, right?
Yes, very first.
Okay, and that's great. You're buying it before the average person buys their first house in the United States. You're not in a great position. Was this the time to buy a house?
I mean, it's cheaper than my rent was.
What happens if you have to replace your roof? What happens if you have a big leak? What if a frozen pipe bursts?
Yeah, it was just a really impulsive choice.
How do you impulsively buy a house?
Well, my lease was running out on the rental, and I didn't really put any thought into, like, if I wanted to renew it. Like, it was just really quick. I decided it was time to buy a house. I only spent about a month looking.
My first house, I didn't have a single piece of new furniture in there. In fact, I didn't get a single piece of new furniture until I got my third. That was the very first time I bought a new piece of furniture.
Yeah.
Ever.
So I don't have to say that this decision probably wasn't the best if she's on the financial audit, but just making one of the most important and expensive choices of your life on a whim cannot be a good idea. I bet if we watched this entire episode, we could see how much debt she's in and how much she spent on new furniture probably, but we could look at a couple of the comments. I recently got a new roof, $24,000. Average age of a first-time home buyer is 38. That's wild. How do you impulsively buy a house? My first house had no furniture. It was dinner on the floor. We've seen that, people being house poor, basically just having enough for the down payment and not being able to furnish it. Very scary situation in my opinion. My house cost me $100,000 in repair last year. Home ownership is not all sunshine and rainbows. Here we have another clip of a woman regretting it as she's already locked in.
I'm in the process of buying my very first house as a 28-year-old with no kids. I'm not married. I am in a relationship. I close in 7 days and I feel like I should be super excited right now and happy, but in reality, I am terrified and I am so nervous and I want to back out, but it is literally way too late in the process for me to back out. And I've missed my last chance to do that. And so now I am just like sitting here and regretting my decision, but we're just gonna have to make it work. We're gonna have to figure it out. And yeah, I'm gonna be house poor. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna afford food. I don't know how I'm gonna afford gas. I don't know what I'm doing. Who let me do this? Who let me do this?
I don't know, honestly. I'm just glad I'm not in the same situation. Not even in the house yet and instantly regretting it. Not knowing what she's gonna do for food. I mean, it's crazy. Here's another one of the pre-COVID comments. Bought my house at 26 and was house poor for 2 years. Bought for $309,000 and it's worth $730,000 today. We're actually gonna go right into an example that's very similar to this and is exactly the reason why I moved out of New Jersey. I never wanted to own a home there because of how ridiculously expensive it is, especially for what you're you're getting. Only 10 days on market, listed for $525,000 and sold for $640,000. Original owner since 1967, so you know this was bought for virtually nothing. Township of Washington, Bergen County, New Jersey. Now we could go into the comment section. Family didn't put $1 into the place and sells it for $650,000. Boomer mentality. Then the creator responds, buyer sees its potential and future value. Great investment. This is a great investment at $650,000 without having to do all the work to update it. Adding on top of the high property tax just to live in New Jersey, $650 for an insanely outdated house is highway robbery. Purchased for 3 blueberries in 1967, 0 upgrades since, and sold for $640 is mental. Luckiest generation to ever live. And we got a part 2 for some more New Jersey homes.
Whoever's buying this house, I think this house is going to be house flipped. This house has been abandoned for I don't know how long, but there's been like raccoons and turkey vultures going inside a giant massive hole. Like the wood is rotten and they're just going to cover it up. I've been watching this house. This is like my entertainment, but good luck to whoever's buying this house because it's a money pit, I believe. It's molded everywhere. Jesus.
So this is going to be a perfect example of home buyer's remorse for whoever buys this house, literally just covering it up and hiding it. Some of the comments, this should be illegal, so insane. You got to warn the prospective buyers because the sellers are definitely not going to do that. They want as much money as possible. As a former roofer, trust me, owners know and refuse to spend an extra $8,000 to get the rafters replaced. Every time I make one of these kinds of videos, it scares me even more to purchase a home in the future. Another comment from you guys, I hate when people say the value of my home has doubled, so I'm doing good. This also means if you sell your home, the next home you buy will be double the cost it would have been previously. So even matching interest rates will still result in a loss for your finances. You kind of have to get ready to move to a different area that will maybe be the next up and coming town or city, because if you move to a place very close to you, maybe even in the same town, it's very unlikely you're going to get the same doubling of value. But at the end of the day, I guess homes are looked at more of an investment instead of actually a place to live now.
Again, Dad? The great American dream is home ownership has become a business. You never own your home. Ever.
I mean, he's right. Even if you pay off your mortgage, see what happens if you don't pay property taxes. Nobody ever actually owns their home. But up next, we definitely have someone that looks like they watched a lot of the real estate gurus, especially at the beginning of COVID, trying to make it look like it was so easy to buy investment properties, be able to do very minimal work and just print money. A lot of the time, that's not the case, especially right now in 2025.
I thought I was buying a rental property. What I actually bought was a nightmare in disguise. The listing said needs TLC. It was cheap, it was ugly, and I was confident. This would be my first real estate win. I pictured a quick flip, rented it out in 30 days, easy cash flow. The moment I stepped inside, it smelled like regret. Mold in the walls, soft floors, and a toilet that had been used but never flushed. Turns out the house had been vacant for years with broken pipes hiding behind every wall. Therefore, my budget doubled before I even started demo. Contractors quit, supplies were delayed, and I was bleeding money just keeping the lights on. But the worst part? Halfway through the renovations, my contractor vanished. Took my deposit and disappeared. I stood in the empty living room thinking, what did I just do?
So this type of example adds on to me not being interested in doing this at all. I'm overall not very interested in real estate as a whole, but being a landlord, having several different properties and making money from that, I know there are tons of examples online of people who genuinely have been doing that for a long time and they make millions. But it's definitely not as easy as it looks. There are plenty of horror stories like this, and I just don't want to be a part of it at all. We have another comment from one of you guys. When our AC broke, every quote we got was accompanied by a big push to finance emergency repairs. We chose to get window units out of Facebook Marketplace for $100 each, lived with that for a year, then got the AC and furnace replaced with cash in full. Some of these aren't home issues, they're just choices, which I do definitely understand as well, but it doesn't take away the fact, especially when you're talking about modern new construction, the quality is just absolutely terrible. I mean, this clip, it's a $4 million home.
New construction inspection on this $4 million home. Starting off right where this trim meets the brick veneer, have some gaps, need to get that all sealed up. This is at the back corner of the foundation. We do have a couple nice cracks that have popped up already. In the master shower, we do have a few shower heads. The hand sprayer has good pressure, first shower head has good pressure, but then it's pretty much non-existent at the last one. Water's just trickling out even when the other two are shut off. Within the same shower stall, we do have this little niche, and the tile is not installed across the top or the bottom of this. This is in one of the many guest bathrooms in this house. Of course, we should have GFCI protection on the outlet, which this one does not. This is a little bar area that's right off of the kitchen. We should have some trim below these cabinets. As you can see, it just doesn't look too pretty underneath there without it. In the attic, we're missing the majority of the insulation. The little bits that are up here now are just covering the pipes for the fire suppression system, and then the rest of it is just bare drywall. So of course, got to get that installed.
This is for a $4 million house. They were too lazy to insulate the rest of it or put tile in one of the showers. I mean, it's not catastrophic structural problems, but for $4 million, I want my house to be absolutely perfect, and it just looks lazy. So much so that when you see listings like this online, the realtor agents or the owners who put up the listing in the first place are too lazy to even write the paragraphs themselves.
So this is like the 5th time I've seen a Zillow description like this. You got it. Here's a casual, upbeat, human-sounding, SEO-optimized listing description that's under 2,000 characters and RMLS Fair Housing compliant. Now, a bit of an oversight by the listing agent, but a good example of when hiring an agent, ask them, are they going to leverage AI tools like ChatGPT or rely on them?
What bugs me even more is that people relying on AI to do something as simple as write a paragraph is when people can't even bother to do the bare minimum and actually proofread before posting. Did they even read it before they posted it? I mean, there were a lot of comments like that. Just really unbelievable to me. Kind of looks like this would also happen with new construction, but we're going to end off this video with someone regretting owning her condo.
I'm going to keep it 100%. Home ownership is not what I expected it to be. Honestly, if I had my time back, I would never in a million years have bought a condo. I regret it so much. It's one of the biggest regrets of my life. Renting, you have that like stress-free, no worry in the world. If something in my condo breaks, it's my responsibility to fix that issue. If I'm renting, I just call up my property manager, landlord, whoever, and just say, hey, this is broken, this appliance isn't working. It's their responsibility to send somebody in and fix that ASAP. When you're a homeowner, you're the one that has to do the research on finding someone to come in. You're the one that has to take the time and make sure everything's working smoothly. It's such a headache. I'll give you an example. Today, I had the unit below my condo say that they have a leak in their washroom. It's my responsibility to call a plumber, contact the property manager, and make sure it's fixed. And when you're a renter, that's not my problem. Like, my landlord will fix that problem. I'm paying rent, and that's a wrap. That's where my responsibility finishes. If I could turn back time, I would never have bought. I would have just stayed a renter. And honestly, the extra money that I would have had, I don't have to pay property taxes, I don't have to pay for repairs. Extra money, I would have poured it into investments. And future me would have been a lot better off. Just something to keep in mind, home ownership the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
So again, this is very divisive, the renting versus owning, but when it comes to new construction builds, it almost seems a little bit better to not be the owner. Looks like there's a much higher chance of things falling apart, having problems, and then at the end of the day, it's not your problem. And I know I'm going to get a whole bunch of people who don't like that I just said that, even though I'm definitely not against home ownership. You just have to be extremely careful in this climate. So at least for me right now, I'm waiting it out, hopefully to find a diamond in the rough, which is becoming increasingly more difficult when you're looking on Realtor or Zillow, any of those sites, on top of seeing all of these horror stories on social media. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.